Everyone knows the real estate market has slowed. Prices aren't climbing the way they used to. Buyers are cautious and sellers are starting to feel tired. But the question people keep asking me about Lake Koocanusa isn't whether or not the market has cooled. It's this. Heading into 2026, is Lake Koocanusa quietly resetting, or is this still a risky time to buy recreational property? Because Koocanusa doesn't behave like a normal housing market, and if you treat it like one, you're going to misunderstand what's actually happening here. So why is Lake Koocanusa a very different market? Well, to understand Lake Koocanusa in 2026, you need to understand what drives demand here. This is not a primary residence market. Lake Koocanusa is a recreational and second home market, a seasonal use market, a land and acreage driven market, a discretionary purchase type of market. Most buyers here do not have to buy. They choose to buy when timing, confidence, and cash all line up. That makes Koocanusa far more sensitive to interest rates, carrying costs, buyer confidence. So this is not a crash, it's a drawn out reset. Lake Koocanusa is not in any sort of crash, but it is in a longer reset than most full service towns. Why? Because discretionary markets feel pressure first and recover last. When confidence fades, recreational buyers pause, second home purchases get delayed, and listings sit longer, especially if you haven't priced them correctly. And that's why activity here feels quieter than in Fernie or in Cranbrook. Not because demand is gone, but because buyers are just simply waiting. Inventory, land, and development reality. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of the Koocanusa market. There appears to be a lot of land. You drive down the lake, look on both sides, and there's tons of land. Nothing anywhere. But usable, serviced, and build-ready property is much more limited than people assume. Right now, new builds are slow, construction costs are high. Infrastructure and access matter more than ever. Many ownership plans are being delayed, not canceled, because the numbers don't work at today's costs. That creates a strange balance. Listings exist, but replacement supply is low. Over time, that tends to limit downside risk, even if prices stay flat. Let's talk about investors carrying costs and reality checks. Well, Lake Koocanusa attracted a lot of buyers during the low rate years. Some were lifestyle buyers, some more recreational investors, and some were simply chasing the dream. Now reality has set in, and if it hasn't quite set in yet, it's going to settle in soon. Carrying costs are high, and they're getting higher. Usage is seasonal. Rental income, very inconsistent. Some owners are choosing to sell, not in a panic, but because holding no longer makes sense for them. This sell-off is slow and selective, not dramatic. And that's why pricing pressure shows up as stagnation, not as a collapse. So who is buying at Lake Koocanusa right now? The buyers still active heading into 2026 are very specific. They tend to be cash-heavy buyers, long-term lifestyle owners, retirees planning future use, buyers with no urgency, and these buyers are patient. They're not chasing appreciation. They're buying for personal use, privacy, and lifestyle. That keeps the market alive, but controlled. And so what does 2026 actually look like for Lake Koocanusa? Well, realistically, this is not a bounce. It's not a breakdown. It's just a slow stabilization. Prices will likely remain flat to slightly soft, extremely property specific. Reward well-located waterfront and usable acreage, punish poor access, difficult terrain, and unrealistic pricing. Lake Koocanusa markets don't turn quickly. They settle after sellers adjust expectations and buyers regain confidence. So who is this market for, and who should wait? Well, This market will reward the long-term lifestyle buyer, the cash-strong purchasers, and buyers comfortable with seasonal use. People prioritizing enjoyment over appreciation. This market, however, will absolutely punish highly leveraged buyers, anyone relying on rental income, short-term speculators, and buyers stretched by carrying costs. Lake Koocanusa has always been about patience and perspective. So I love the Kook. Big time Koocanusa fan right here. They used to call me the king of the Kook. And a lot of people are waiting for a dramatic signal from Lake Koocanusa to see if it has turned. Well, that signal probably won't come. Koocanusa doesn't move fast. It resets slowly, then quietly rewards the right buyers. Knowing where the market sits in the 2026 buying cycle, it matters. But knowing whether Lake Koocanusa actually fits your lifestyle, financing, and expectations matter way more. If you want to talk through whether buying near Lake Koocanusa, on Lake Koocanusa, or just off makes sense for you and your family, give me a shout. Happy to chat anytime. And if you want to see how Koocanusa compares to Fernie, Invermere, or the Crow's Nest Pass, watch the next video or one of the videos that I've posted recently. I'll see you in the next one. Bellsy out.